I'm Sarah Steele, and my company is Better with Money. And we provide financial education in the workplace to really help people to understand their personal finances with the aim of reducing money stress. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background. So Better with Money, sadly, I didn't set up myself. I wish I had, because I love everything that it stands for. It was actually set up by a lovely lady called Jo Thresher back in 2016. And she had worked in corporate financial services for many years. And she had correctly identified that at that point, financial well-being was becoming a bit of a buzzword. And, you know, we absolutely know that people need financial education because we very rarely get it at home through our parents, unless our parents understand finances. And it doesn't really get a focus in most school curriculums, mainly because there's too much else that they need to focus on. And sometimes the teachers don't have that experience or knowledge to pass on the financial education down to the students. And so the kind of companies that had started doing financial education tended to be those organizations who had a product to sell. So it might be the banks who were ultimately trying to get you to sign up with their bank accounts. It might have been the wealth managers who, you know, might have given you some good education, but really just wanted you to buy their pension or their ISA, or just to get their money on platform. And so Jo said, I've had enough of this. Financial education is for everybody. It's not there to push a product. So she set up Better with Money to provide that financial education primarily through the workplace, directly into corporates who would then pay for that to provide that to their employees, which is what happened. She set it up. She left the corporate world. She set it up. Really sadly, Jo became very ill. A couple of years ago, she got diagnosed with the pancreatic cancer. And she knew that she'd had all the treatment that she could, and that she wasn't able to carry on running the business, but she didn't want to leave it there. She wanted it to carry on. And I just feel very fortunate that we were introduced by a mutual friend, because this mutual friend knew that I'd been working in the corporate world for over 20 years, and I'd been working with businesses to help them set up their pension plans for their employees. I'd help them to set up their employee benefits, so their healthcare, their death in service schemes. But actually, the bit of the job that I always loved was when I could go into those companies and talk to those individuals and employees about, how does my pension plan work, and why am I saving for a pension, or, you know, what does death in service scheme really mean? I liked that people interaction. So our friend had sort of set me and Jo up, and she said, I think Sarah might be somebody that could take this business forward, because also I'd got really fed up with the internal politics of working in a large business as well. And we just hit it off. We got on like a house on fire. I loved everything she did. I loved what Better with Money stood for. So after just a few months of the legals and all those lovely things you have to do, I took the business on. I think we actually signed on the dotted line on the 13th of March 2020, Friday the 13th, and I should have guessed, because about 3 days later we went into lockdown. And so I found myself with a business that did primarily face-to-face education going into workplaces. And I thought, oh God, I need to do something here. And so I phoned up a client who we were due to go and see the following week. And I said, look, we obviously can't come in and talk to your employees. So how about we do a webinar? I was totally winging it, which is the story of my life. And they said, yeah, that's good. Let's do a webinar. And I said, great. Well, you know, we'll use your webinar system. They were quite a big client. And they said, oh no, we don't have a webinar system. We'll use yours. I was like, oh, okay. So overnight, I had to research and buy a webinar system, which I did. And really, I mean, I'll go into more detail. But what we do is we've developed all of the face-to-face courses we changed into webinars. We make sure that all of our courses and our topics cover everybody. So not just those people who might want to know about how to budget or dealing with their debt. We want to help those people who maybe have a bit of extra money, who want to know how to save or invest that money. We want to help the younger people who are saving for a house. We want to help the older people who are saving for retirement and want to know that. So we really try and have a full range of financial education across the piece. And we don't just do webinars, we are now starting to get back face to face. We also do one-to-one clinics. We have some clients where they ask us to do webinars for all of their employees, but then we also do a day a month where employees can just log on for half an hour, book an appointment and talk to us about anything personal finance related. So that's what we do in a nutshell. But why is it so important? I touched on the fact that we don't really get financial education as children, or a lot of us aren't lucky enough. But why is it that companies are prepared to pay for this stuff for their employees? Are they just doing it because they're really, really kind? Some are, absolutely. But if we look at a few stats, we can see that back in 2019-20, there are actually nearly 18 million sick days taken in the UK because of stress and anxiety. And actually the biggest cause of stress and anxiety is because people worry about money. And it might just be that they don't have enough money to even get the bus to go to work. And therefore, having financial worries not only affects our personal life and our relationships, but actually it can have a massive impact on work and productivity at work. Because if you're worried about other things, your head's not in the game, you're not working properly. And that is why a lot of employers now have started setting aside, well, not just wellbeing budgets, and a lot of that came to the fore during COVID, really thinking about the mental well-being of your and physical well-being and emotional well-being of your employees, but they set aside money to train their employees on things like finances, because they know ultimately it's going to improve the productivity and the motivation of the employees. And if you look after your employees, they become more loyal, they don't leave, and you retain them, and all of those lovely things. Aon, a company I used to work for, actually, they did a survey during COVID, and 2/3 of employees have said this is something we really want to know more about. And if you can educate people, they become happier, more productive. So just a little bit more, there's my lovely face up there. I mean, when we do webinars, this was just a screenshot from one we did, sadly, over the summer, because there were lots of companies who had to make their employees redundant. The jobs weren't there, they couldn't do them from home. I mean, one of the clients we worked with was John Lewis, who had to shut a lot of their stores and decided to restructure. So one of the webinars we put together was, what are the financial things we need to think about when we're being made redundant, or when our role is being made redundant? That's a really important note. And what we try to do for our employers that use us is to just make it as admin easy as possible when we're providing this financial education, because employers don't want to be make it difficult for themselves. So we do all of the setup, we provide the link, we get people signing up onto our webinar platform. But importantly, we also give employers lots of information around how many people clicked the link, how many people were interested in joining, how many people did join. But at the end of the sessions, we also do an employee survey, which really surveys that individual on what topics they want to hear about. Did they find it useful? Is it something that they can action? So that the employers can start to build up some management information and some ideas as to what that financial education programme should look like going forward. Here's just a list of some of the type of topics that we talk about. I'm really sorry, Chris, but I've just realised that our session isn't on there. But I need to add that on. So
I'm masking my disappointment right now, Sarah, but I'll let you off.
Thank you. Because actually, and this is a good thing, one thing I found about becoming a business owner is sometimes you get so embroiled in doing the client work, of course, and you want to do a great job, is that sometimes you don't have the time or the headspace to really think, what should I be doing next for my business? And last Christmas, I had a bit of time out. I had 2 weeks because people weren't in the offices, they didn't want this education. And it suddenly dawned on me, why am I doing all of these courses all by myself? I mean, I have a certain amount of financial knowledge, but actually there's, back to this collaboration point, there are so many people out there who have specialisms in certain things. And Chris is a prime example of that. He deals with individuals and their finances every day. And actually, he's got a lot of knowledge around people who have got money and what can they do with that, you know, once they're maxing out on their pensions and maxing out on their ISAs, what should they be doing next? So I actually said to Chris, could we do a joint webinar? Could we do one around you know, what people should be doing if they're high earners? And that's worked brilliantly. We, you know, we all know Chris is great and helped me to kind of shape some slides and a webinar, and we've now delivered that a few times, haven't we, to various employers. And I partner with another guy whose whole business is about teaching kids about money. I've just partnered with a company who specialise in finance on divorce. So we now have a divorce webinar. And yesterday, really excitingly, I spoke to a lady who invests in property. And so we're going to do a webinar, kind of the beginner's guide to investing in property, because really, as I said, we're trying to get all these topics that appeal to everybody, not just those people who maybe are starting out.
Can I mean, I know he's not a member of this community because he's based over in the Far East, but I want to just give Will a bit of a shout out because his book's just come out. Yes. And the education, some of his blogs talking about educating your kids about money, I think are pretty useful for adults too, to be perfectly frank, because the way he explains financial concepts is quite smart.
Yeah, so this is a guy, he used to be an actuary, he used to work in London. He decided him and his wife wanted to go travelling with their 2 young children. So they now live out in Vietnam, and he's set up this company all around how to teach your kids about money. And he does it through lots of stories. And his book got on Amazon last week. It's Grandpa's Fables. I've actually got it. I'll run and get it in a minute and show it. But brilliant. If you've got any children, you know, nieces, nephews, kids, godchildren, it's well worth getting for Christmas because it really does help them. It brings to life what about money is important, saving strategies and things like that. As I say, we also do the one-to-one. I'll skip through this. For people, and the other service that we've just started is we do work with quite a few charities who provide financial grants for people in hardship, but actually what the trustees need to know before awarding that is, why is that person in that situation that they need that financial grant? Is there anything that they can do as trustees to help? So they've brought us in to really have those one-to-ones with those individuals, to identify why they've got into that situation, if there's anything we can do to help them, but also then to report back to the trustees so they can make that decision about the grant. So we're really proud to be doing that work because we know that it's helping people in need. On our website, we've got loads of resources and calculators and blogs all about personal finance to help people out. So, you know, feel free to take a look at that. And importantly, it isn't just me. Within Better with Money, I have all of these lovely people who do the webinars as well. I mean, Alan there and Martin, case in point, you know, I don't feel that I can talk to people about retiring because it's not something I've done myself. Alan and Martin have part retired, so they do the courses about what it's like to transition both emotionally and financially to retirement. And so I've got different people with different specialisms all helping out doing these. Here's just a few of our clients. As I say, and this is a real focus for me for 2022, a lot of the companies that have the financial wellbeing budgets are the bigger clients. And that's great. And their employees need helping. But what I really want to focus on next year is finding a solution for smaller clients who maybe only have a few employees, because actually most employees in the UK work for smaller businesses, and I want to make sure that we can provide something that's affordable to them as well. So watch this space on that. Blow your own trumpet, but there's just a few comments there. You know, there's nothing better, back to Sharon's point, when you know you either get an individual or a company going, this is brilliant, this is exactly what we needed, it, you know, changed my life. Or you know, we had one lady who did a one-to-one, and you know, on the face of it you'd have thought that she should have lots of money, she had a good salary, but she was about £50,000 in debt, and we managed to sit down with her and get a debt management plan in place that was affordable for her, and it has transformed her life. And it's things like that that make us get up every day and say we know that we're genuinely helping people. Now I just thought, if it's okay, I've just got a few quiz questions just to get people involved. I'm not going to get you to shout it out, but these are just some of the sorts of information that we throw out there. So number one, on average, how many debt cases do you think the Citizens Advice Bureau dealt with every day, every day in the year to the 30th of September? Has anybody got any ideas? Want to shout them out?
C.
Yeah.
C, let me have a look. Yes, you're right, Chris. It was C. So basically, just the Citizens Advice Bureau alone, and they are just one of about 12 major debt charities in the UK. So they dealt with 700,000 cases where people are struggling with debt. And so as you can see, anything we can do to help the population think about budgeting and debt is a good thing. Next thing, how much does it cost on average per day for a couple to raise a child from birth to the age of 18?
C.
Are we just going to go the
or
most
D.
expensive one of standard?
It's more than that, isn't it?
D.
Well,
E.
Interestingly, stats from the Money Charity say it costs £23 a day. Now that amounts to, for a child to the age of 18, £150,000. But I'm inclined to agree with you, Paul. If I've actually think about this, we've got 4 kids, so it's no wonder I'm permanently like, where's my money gone? Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of couples it would be nearer to C, but
well, funny enough, Sarah, I've just done the maths because my assumption was 180k, so I had 27 quid.
So you're somewhere in between.
Somewhere in the middle. Be a bit and a half.
The point here is that a lot of the time we have one-to-ones with people who say, I'm thinking of starting a family. What are the financial considerations I need to think about? Well, there's the first one right there. Just 2 more. Between March and September, how much did petrol prices go up by? Yeah. Any idea? You should
Probably
just
C,
go with
hasn't
the
it?
normal answer. It is C. And that is why inflation is likely to hit around, I mean, that's relatively extreme, but it's about, I think they're predicting about 5% for this calendar year.
Yesterday, the prediction was 5%. Yeah.
Yeah, and petrol prices are certainly not going to be helping towards that. If you want to know the cheapest petrol in your area, sign up to petrolprices.com. You can tell the website within what area you're happy to travel to get your petrol, and it will tell you which forecourts are the cheapest. And how long does it take the average first-time home buyer to save for a deposit?
B, I reckon.
Just go C. It's 15 years. 15 years. And last year, the average house across the entire of the UK just got to £250,000. So, and the average deposit on houses are normally 20%. So that's a £50,000 deposit. Now, obviously, first-time home buyers can get 95% mortgages, but it still means that they need to be saving a good old £12,500. That is not easy when you just come out of maybe university or finish school and starting work. So we talk to people about strategies for that. So no, I just thought I'd do that just as a little aside. And there you go. Hopefully I didn't go too much over my 20 minutes. But
that was good. It was really good. One thing I've learned, and I'm sort of glad I didn't apply this from our test yesterday. You should always go, if in doubt, always go for C. That's
always go for C, yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions, and clearly, we've worked together, and I know the business quite well. But one thing I don't know is what's the element that's the most, in demand at the minute in terms of employers asking for support for their staff.
Yeah, so during the lockdown, we did put together a webinar around all of the things that employees could do, or all of the things that the government had put in place to help employees. So that was things at the time like the mortgage holidays, it was things like the stamp duty relief, it was things like the working from home tax relief, and everybody can still apply for that this year. Even if you only work from home one day an entire year, you get tax relief on £6 of your earnings every week to pay for lighting, heating, and so it's just. So we put together a webinar rather than people having to trawl through the gov.uk website or the Martin Lewis website. We kind of tried to condense all of the useful stuff and put it into a webinar, and that was really well received. And now employers are saying, now we've got people back at work, people got used to potentially, well, employees came into two halves. You had those who were struggling financially because them or their families had been furloughed, lost their jobs, and income had reduced. You had the other half who were better off because they weren't traveling, they were being paid the same, they were working from home, didn't have the holidays. And a lot of employers now are saying, actually, we're worried that people have got used to having that extra money in their pocket, and now we're asking them to come back into the office and pay for that travel again. And so people might need a reminder now about the strategies they can put in place to budget. So sort of that budgeting after COVID recovery type stuff.
And getting used to expenses. Now you're commuting a bit more, and yeah, it's interesting.
Holidays and travel and cutting the cost of travel. So they're the sorts of things that are coming through at the moment.
Cool.
And obviously, oh, can I just mention two things before I forget? And I should have mentioned it as part of this. Next week is National Talk Money Week. So the Money and Pension Service run this every year because they've got a national financial wellbeing strategy to get more people to understand money and talk about money. And so we are providing 2 free webinars open to absolutely anybody next week. One is about the state pension explained, which I thought really boring. Is anybody going to sign up? We've got nearly 200 people signed up on that one. The other one was Fix My Festive Finances, which is all about budgeting for Christmas and not having the January hangover. And we've got about 60 on that. So that was the one I thought people were going to love. And actually we've got less. But I will, if it's all right with you, Chris, can I just send you the links to that? And anybody, whatever age, whoever, if you've got clients you want to send it on to, if you want to join up yourself, you can do that. And we
send it to us, and we'll make sure it goes on the community as well, Sarah.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions? Sharon.
So it's not a question, but I've got something that I'm working on that I can send to go out next week for National Talk Money Week, which is an ebook on cash flow for small businesses, which is this close to being finished.
Amazing, good stuff. All right, cool, good stuff. Any other questions?
I've just seen Nadine put in there that daughter started work this year and doesn't want to go in the office because it costs so much money, and it does. It costs a ridiculous amount, and particularly now when it's been proved that people can work from home. I think there's a lot to be said for going into the office and the collaboration and the socializing and learning from your peers and all of that. But actually, I know a lot of companies employees are demanding more money for now going back because they've got used to not, somebody's starting out. But Nadine, we do a webinar called Starting Out Right, which is about understanding your pay slip and why you pay tax and why you pay national insurance. So if your daughter, I could always send over a recording that we did for a client if she wanted to watch it. She obviously doesn't need to.
Thank you. Well, she's a trainee accountant, so hopefully she knows all about that.
You say that, but hopefully.
Yeah, no, that would be brilliant. Send it over to me, Sarah. My email, I think, is in the chat.
I mean, I think sometimes the interesting thing is, and we find this with some of our clients, Nadine, that include accountants. Accountants are really good at what they do for businesses. Sometimes the element they miss is sometimes that personal financial planning, because actually, even though there's overlap, it requires a little bit of a different way of looking at things and skill set. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've really learned is to never assume. Our clients say, should we tackling debt? Should we just send that to our younger employers or employers? Like, no, because people spend to their means, and actually the people that we've spoken to with the biggest debt problems are those who are actually slightly older, who earn more money but maybe have had families and have struggled to pay for all the expenses that brings. So and actually one of the debt ones that we did that was the most attended was for a London city accountancy firm.
Interesting.
People were anonymously asking questions saying, I'm really worried that if I go to a debt charity, this is going to affect my regulation and career and all of that stuff. So,
and again, that difference between the perception of wealth and what actual wealthy people look like is a debate that we could have forever. But yeah, great. That was amazing. Thank you, Sarah.